Earlier this week, we used event-based programming to make a helicopter flight simulator where we can fly around the city and look for the mayor's cat. We selected the A key to ascend, the D key to descend, and the arrow keys to control the helicopter's motion. One of the problems is that the user of the program doesn't know what to do. So we want to add some instructions to this so that it's obvious how they should play the game. We'll do this by adding some 3D text, which is in the Add Objects gallery and all the way to the right of the local gallery. We can create some 3D text and describe how the game works. We also want to be able to show and hide the instructions. So when I press OK, the instructions show up somewhere in the world, but they're not in a useful place. We need to position them in front of the camera so that we can see them. So the 3D text shows up as an object in our object tree, and I'm going to rename this one to instructions. And what we want to do is follow 3 steps in order to get it in front of the camera. First, we're going to position it at the camera's position, then we'll move it forward, and then we'll turn it around so it's facing the camera. So I'll right-click on the instructions, select methods, and set point of view to be the camera. And we can't really see that much happen because it kind of flew into the middle of the camera. Now I'm going to move them forward so they're in front of the camera. And we see it flew out forward, but they're facing away from us, so we need to turn it around. So turn around either left or right 1/2 revolution. Okay, so I see the words there. I'm going to resize them a little bit. I could either do that using methods or some of the tools. So I'd resize it there to a good size. And what I need to do is to make it a little bit more visible. So I can go to the instructions properties, and here I can change the color maybe to yellow. That's good. And I also want to change the vehicle to the camera, and that way the instructions will follow the camera around. So we're sort of done. If I hit play, the instructions will fly around with the camera. Now you'll notice that it's hard to see the instructions depending on the background. So we can add another shape behind them to make it a little bit more visible. So I'll add another object. I'll find these shapes, and let's try the square. So we'll add a square to the world, and we'll do the same thing with the square. I'll position it with the point of view of the camera, then I'll move it back or forwards 10 meters, and then I will turn it around so it's facing us. So at this point I want to probably size it so it's the right size behind our text. I might need to also move it back a little bit. So you can play around with positioning it until it looks good. And that's good enough for now. So we'll have our square also set the vehicle to be the camera. And now when I play, if I move around, we see the square showing up. Let's also set the color to black. Let's see. There we go. So that makes the text much more readable. So if I want to show and hide these, I can create a method and tie that to the spacebar. So I'll create a new event for when a key is typed, and we'll use the spacebar as the key that we want to execute this. And in this case, I think I'll just make a new world method for show or hide instructions. And so what this method will do is that it will use the toState behavior with a Boolean variable instructions showing that will start out as true, and then we'll use an if statement to decide whether or not we're going to change the instruction visibility. So basically, if the instructions are showing, then what we want to do is set both the instructions and the square is showing we can set to false. And then alternatively, I'll copy both of these. We can make them visible. And then with our toState behavior, what I want to do is negate that current value. So we'll set the value to be its current value, and then find the negation operator, the not operator, to change its value to the opposite of what it was. So now when I press the spacebar, we'll either show or hide those instructions. So as we play, I can fly around. So there goes the instructions disappearing. I hit the spacebar. If I hit the spacebar again, they appear. Now actually what I should do is set the duration to 0 so that it all happens instantly. Okay, so now I can hit the spacebar and hide the instructions. I can fly around a little bit, and if I decide I need to see the instructions again, I can press spacebar and they show back up. As you can see, this doesn't look perfect, so it'll take a little bit of time to make it look nice, but you get the general idea.